Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Texas Hill Country Fishing Report with Greg Welander of Upstream on the Fly. How you doing, Greg?
Hey Marvin, I'm doing great today. You know, it's finally we've seen the thermometer on the wall, on the outside thermometer, fall off 100 degrees. So we're headed in the right direction temperature-wise.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I checked out your weather, and I was almost shocked to see that it wasn't like, horny toad hot down there still.
Yeah, it has been, since our last visit on the show, it's been extremely hot. I came out of a business last week, started my truck up, and of course it's in the afternoon, parked on asphalt, and literally my thermometer was saying 119, and I watched it finally get down to 105, but that's pretty hot. That was too hot to be outside. But we've got to change. Finally got to change the weather, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, we're looking for change in the weather so that our fishing here in the Hill Country and in Texas will start to be good. Because right now water temperatures are actually in the 80s. And when you have water temperatures in the 80s, that reduces or lowers the oxygen levels, and the fish become sluggish. So we do have some rain in the forecast, and we've had a little bit of rain in some of the areas over the last week. And I'll talk about the lower Colorado east of Austin, and I'll talk about the Llano, and we'll also mention the San Marcos. So let's dive right into fishing reports. So the lower Colorado east of Austin has been running high for the most part, but what I don't like about it is it's been running muddy as well. So that was due to some of the area rains that we'd gotten from the last Hurricane Laura, which we didn't get a lot of rain, but there were some areas out east of Austin that had gotten some amount of rain that had brought the river muddy. And of course, we still are generating some power there. So there's been some about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the river starts to go up and peaks around 8 or 9 at night, and that's up towards Longhorn Dam. But when you look at the gauges and even down to Bastrop, which is 20 to 30 miles downstream, it's been running higher than what I like to fish, and what I mean by that, it's been over 800 CFS as an average, with a lot of the water running 1,000 to 2,000 CFS. So as we get into lower temperatures, power demand will fall off, and as long as we don't have any rain, water clarity will be good for us. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about the lower Colorado yet, but I will tell you October, November, and December are my favorite 3 months of the year, so we're not far. Hopefully that break starts in September. If we go out west to the Hill Country and talk about the Llano had really been low. I mean, it had really gotten down into like 30 CFS, but this past weekend, Labor Day weekend, there had been some good rain showers out there, and the Llano had gotten up to about 100 CFS out in Mason and now in Llano. So what that means is there's definitely a good water flow that helps in oxygenating the water, and also it brings the water a little bit off color for a handful of days. So give it some time. We'll be back to clear water on the Llano. But there's plenty of Guadalupe out there, and they're growing every day. So it's always exciting to go out to the Llano. And since we are starting to get into 80 to lower 90s, it'll be more enjoyable to be out on the Llano. And the San Marcos, which is east of Austin, southeast of Austin, to be exact, is a spring-fed river, and it's been a little finicky over the last 3 weeks. It's been on and off, which happens on the San Marcos. So what we really need for the lakes to get going is we need to start seeing some overnight lows in the 60s. Once we get in the 60s, in the evenings, we're going to start seeing the bigger bodies of water like Lake Travis and Lake Buchanan start to go off in their fall program.
Yeah, so, if you want to go fish, it sounds like the San Marcos and the Llano are probably the two most realistic options right now.
It is.
Yeah. So how does that translate into tips and techniques while we wait for things to cool off?
Yeah. So right now, the Lano has been staying pretty consistent with its patterns. Anything in the bait fish pattern has been working well, and specifically make sure there's some white in the flies. So, they're not really picky on the type of fly, whether it be a clouser or a woolly bugger or a variant of either of them. But white seems to be a trigger, and size 8 has been my favorite just due to the size of fish. It'll get you more, quantity of fish. You can up your fly size to like a 6 or a 4 and start to weed out some of the smaller ones. So keep that in mind. And, first thing in the morning, or we have had a few cloudy days. So a cloudy day or first in the morning, top water, your bugle bugs and your Lano bugs. I've kind of switched over to tan Lano bug this time of year because, your grasshopper population starts to look a little more weathered, a little more leathered, I guess you'd say, from the beating of the sun. And of course, your frogs are kind of a tan bellied out there. They're about the size of a quarter. But the San Marcos River, tight to the bank, small near enough crayfish, size 6, size 8. I prefer olive and clouser minnows with dumbbell eyes. Chartreuse and white has been the color to go with. And don't be afraid to put on a sink tip. The fish this time of year seem to be holding a little bit deeper, and got to get it right tight to the bank and or structure at this time of year too. So there you have it, Marvin.
Well, that's great. And, folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly, and you can email them to us. You can send them to us on our Instagram page or our Facebook page. And if we use your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and you'll get it into a drawing at the end of the season for some cool stuff from the brands that Greg reps. And before I let you hop, Greg, why don't you let folks know how they can find you on the internet so they can book you and fish with you as things start to pick up here in October, November, and December?
Yes, my website, which is upstreamonthefly.com. And then you can find me over on social media, both on Instagram and Facebook under Upstream on the Fly.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, folks, get out there and try to stay cool and catch a few. It's just going to keep getting better. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Greg.
Tight lines, Marvin.